watching the monkey.
All right.
Welcome back, folks, to the Art of Being with the ACT Matrix. I'm Kevin. Part of the screen here. If you're on YouTube, you can see us.
And I'm Phil.
There's Phil down there, and we're
co-host.
in RKLIM. But that's what we know who that is, right, Phil?
Oh yeah.
Who is that? Introduce her.
Well, this would be Robin Klim, and she is the director of special services in a local school district. And we're going to hear from her, and she's going to tell us tonight about how she has been using her art of being, maybe with the ACT Matrix, maybe without it. We're all ears tonight. And she brought her Christmas tree with her, so we're happy for that.
Yeah, we have the Christmas spirit going.
She has the nice motif going in the background.
Now, Phil's got a nicer motif than me. Well,
I just got a new camera I'm trying out.
I got guitars.
Yeah,
they're cool.
Guitars are good.
I'm Phil. Plug our stuff.
So this podcast is brought to you by the ACT Matrix Certification Program, which is how Kevin and I pay our bills. They can do this podcasting. And what we're looking to do, and what we've been doing, is to build a community of like-minded folks who are into using the ACT Matrix in their personal and professional life and would like to become certified. So if you're one of those people and you're thinking about it, we invite you to email us. You can go on my website or Kevin's website. There is free training to get you going. And
the training's always free.
Yeah. And we have a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah, we tend to have fun.
So there's my plug.
Good.
So that's it.
Okay, so now we can go to Robin's Art of Being.
Right.
This ought to be good.
All right.
Where are you at, Robin?
Here I am. So, listen, the ACT Matrix and every tool that I've always been searching for, being a licensed clinical social worker for a number of years in mental health before joining the school districts, you're always looking for tools that are simple, easy to teach, things that just make sense. And Phil came into our life about 1.5 years ago from another colleague of mine, introduced us and said, there's great stuff going on out there that just makes sense for kids, adults. It's easy to utilize, put another, something in your back pocket and make it accessible to kids. Teach the matrix, teach, how to notice and be available and be present with your feelings instead of not feeling or being paused on your feelings. And I think it's been a little bit of a shift for our school counselors and social workers who have implemented it. Because a lot of times it's like, sweetie, you need to calm down, get back to class. And it's really the wrong message we've been sending our youth today.
Yeah.
They really should have been taught to notice and feel and been allowed to do so. And then you move them through the matrix. It's been powerful in my school district. I use it in my personal life. I think we're always on this quest of being more mindful and being mindfully present and just being available to the emotion and going through and figuring out how to be your best self. That's really what these tools are all about. Very powerful stuff.
Yep.
Cool. Wow. Okay. So you have found that a lot of times in schools that the kids are basically told, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Whatever it is you're doing, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't have your feelings, right?
Nope.
Unless they're in alignment with
when they're told not to feel.
Yeah.
You have to notice them to get them to realize the space they're in, and you have to make that okay for them, that place of psychological safety.
Mm-hmm.
Use that term quite broadly in our district because I'm working with building relationships within my teams because the safe feel to really process what's happening in counseling sessions, what's happening with our youth across the district. You're talking about our little guys coming in with stress and anxieties, behavioral difficulties. We need to be on the same page of feeling safe to discuss these real issues and then feeling safe enough to give tools to parents and teach the students it's okay to feel.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a number of that we try to get them to fit into the system instead of the system noticing them and fitting and giving them the tools to handle.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you said a term that I've got to go back and define for folks.
Mhm.
The ACT matrix starts with the question, who is important to you? And in the center of that original ACT matrix is something called psychological flexibility. We won't get into the hairy definition of that, but it just makes it easier to move toward who and what's important to you in the presence of yucky feeling emotions. So that's psychological flexibility. There we go. The second loop, you can do another loop around the matrix that's called the pro-social loop. And the pro-social loop starts with the question, hey, what's your shared purpose? What's our shared purpose? Whatever. You got 2 or more people with you and you're asking, what's our shared purposes? In the center of that one is actually the term psychological safety. And Robin brought that up. And the idea, and we've all been in these situations where you don't feel safe in speaking your mind, in bringing up some difficult topic or something. You feel like you're going to get your
being upset.
or you don't even feel being upset, right? And heaven forbid you cry or something. Oh my, that's you're not safe doing that. And so that term psychological safety comes into play there. And the whole idea of that second loop around the matrix is to get people feeling more psychologically safe so they can speak up. Why would they want to speak up? Because it's then consistent with where you want to go. What's your shared purposes? Where do you want this school to go? Where do you want this classroom to go? What do you want to see happen in this classroom? Well, for everybody to work together, they need to feel safe working together. So that's where that comes from. So just thought I'd run back and do a quick 2 loops around the matrix sort of kind of. But the second one, and she's talking about, and it's very important in school. Well, it's important everywhere, but in schools that kids and teachers feel safe.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing, Robin, I think you're speaking to is that the staff you're giving the message to the kids that as a staff is we have your back, even in this yucky moment, as we would call it in matrix terms. We have your back here. You can be here with all of that yucky stuff and it's okay.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Everything about school districts is being judged, right? Kids are being evaluated on performance. Staff are being evaluated on performance. But we have to build in the time to notice the stress of staff and give them the tools as well as the kids. But people need to be able to feel safe, especially this whole wave of social emotional learning. We're just going back to the best practices of 10, even 15 years ago that were good for kids, right? Before we got to high stakes testing and all the other pressures,
before we built up all this stress on them, right?
Social media and the Common Core and everything else that's built up the stress and tying teacher evals and that all trickles to our kiddos. And if we don't notice the stress within ourselves and work the matrix, how are we going to teach it? So we really, Phil came back even for a booster session, and I think we even have some funny recordings about using the matrix, and we gave some great scenarios in our personal lives. And we really had my child study teams and counselors in the room to really notice their own behavior, what they brought, the yucky stuff maybe they brought into school and how that impacted their decisions. But you have to feel safe with your administration and your building to be able to say, look, I made a mistake, or this got in the way. I'm noticing that X, Y, and Z. As long as you make those adjustments and work the loop, and feel safe enough to do so, that all trickles to kids. So we got to get to that place of building positive climate for our kids. It starts with the adults.
Absolutely.
That would be, it would.
Yeah. Now I'm going to jump in because I want, Robin, one of the things that you did was not too long after I had been in to do the training, you did something really cool with your administrative staff. Would you want to share that?
Yes. So we ran so what's the beautiful thing, I just want to back up 2 seconds is I feel like the one thing that makes sense about the matrix is that it crosses all disciplines. My board certified behavioral analysts understand it implicitly. It's a quick tool. It makes sense to them. My social workers that are LCSWs understand it, even from that cognitive, short, brief treatment type therapy perspective. So it's a common language, and I had my behaviorists come in because one of them models it beautifully. She guided the entire administrative team and she did the whole matrix with us. And, the purpose of it was we have a new superintendent. We unfortunately had, a pretty traumatic death in our district. Everybody was just feeling down, and we just sat with each other and we noticed, that was such a powerful moment. And we talked about what's getting in the way of us building these relationships and kind of moving forward. And again, a lot of change from our superintendent, assistant superintendent, people were having anxieties about what that change looked like. And it just put us on the same page about a refresh. It was so mind-blowing. The administrators were talking about it. They were asking for my behaviorists and my social workers to start doing these in the classrooms. They found it valuable in their own personal life, which to me, the takeaway was, if you can model this and work this in your life, it's going to bleed out. So it was incredible. Yeah.
Impressive. Wow.
Yep.
And so then the hope is
department meetings, I'm all in. So
you're
well,
all in.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And repetition. It's a simple thing that you can do every day if you want.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier today. Phil and I end up doing a lot of stuff. So we were doing another thing earlier today, and we were talking about the importance of coming back to shared purpose with groups, because we humans just drift off of them. We forget about the shared purposes. And it's nothing where we're being, bad humans or anything. We're just being humans, and we forget and we drift off. So it's nice to have it built in where you can check in and say, hey, folks, remember those shared purposes?
Right.
Let's talk about those again. And go through it again. And so people go, oh, yeah. And it reminds everybody what we're here for. And then you can remind people, hey, what's showing up and getting in the way.
Sure.
Sort of hard example of what you talked about as well. We had an unexpected death. And everybody's bummed out about that. And rightfully, of course we're bummed out about it.
Right.
Yep.
But that bummed out can nevertheless show up and get in the way of moving toward our shared purposes. We just be honest about that. And that's sort of what you're talking about, is get that process, get it out in the open, get people saying, it's
and,
okay.
and acknowledge it. This isn't we're not trying to sweep it under the carpet. Let's acknowledge how it's impacting our work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's look at it.
It was
like, yes. If you have the flu, it's going to impact how you live your life. If you have a death in the family, close family member, it's going to impact how you live. It just acknowledge that. Be with it. Okay. And that's what you're doing with folks. Instead of, okay, everybody stiff upper lip. Let's stuff it, stuff all those feelings.
Nothing to see here. Keep moving.
And that just doesn't work. That's just not the way to do it with folks. So anyway, that was a nice, very cogent example of how, but nevertheless, just everyday stress shows up. What can show up and get in the way? Well, lots of stuff. And everyday stressors show up and get in the way of moving towards shared purposes. So, way cool. So you found a way to insert it into your processes.
Oh, absolutely. We do our own little boosters within departments, administrative. I think it gives people permission to feel. And
Wow.
Yeah, nice way to put it.
You must have been watching Mr. Rogers or something.
Yes. Yeah.
No. It's so, I think that's what makes me so drawn to it. It's simple. It just gives people permission to be.
Yep.
And feel and notice and, get comfortable with each other in talking about this. It's like there's no secret anything. It's just
no hidden agendas. Yep.
Exactly. Like, let's talk about why we're here, what gets in the way, what we're doing the tour.
Yep.
Listen, I run it in my head, what difficult things. Trust me, in my head, I'm like, if I say this, that would be in a way.
Yeah, that's what. Never noticed the effect of that, huh?
Job is not easy.
No.
But I have to be able to model that for the teams. And it's interesting because when we processed it afterwards, I say, the reason why I didn't go there with that person is because it wouldn't have been helpful to the process.
And in this situation, it wouldn't have
In
been
that
helpful.
context, that would not work. Right.
Right.
I might have been feeling this way, but I chose to go toward something
And-
productive for the child's sake, and
Yeah.
not something that was going to make me escape. You know?
Yep.
So instead of the famous "I told you so,"
Yeah.
might not be effective in a lot of situations. You know how all of us love to hear I told you so. We just love to hear that. But that's not always the best thing to tell people.
Yeah.
I'm just giving one example of
I'm
where
very satisfied to say it to someone.
Yeah.
Much of anything, but it does feel kind of good coming out of your mouth once in a while.
feels good, but it busts up the
It
situation.
doesn't do much. Yeah.
Right. Is that really, moving us toward where our shared purposes? Yeah,
Right.
not really. Not really. And then you can think of something else.
Yeah.
What else might I say? What's another?
Right. You know what? It gives you the pause.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
The pause.
It is the pause.
Pause. The outcome is always better when you just pause. That
Mhm.
is another. It's kind of like my own little
Yeah.
pause.
You say that a previous podcast of ours, we had Paul Rock on.
Yes, right.
And he deals with the street level heroin addicts. People right next to death, and they need to stay sober. And in the middle of the matrix is pause. I mentioned that because literally the sort of the universal sign is
The two
vertical lines,
pause,
like
the
on your
pause
tape
button.
recorder.
Yeah.
Right. And that's literally, they have pause in the
Put it
middle.
right there. Yeah.
And it's that same thing of, was essentially before you're going to go off the wagon, pause.
Yeah.
Whoa, let's look at this,
Yeah.
and that's what you have to do. You just, in lots of life situations, it's better to pause.
Yep.
Nothing bad happens when you pause.
Of course. Nothing bad happens by taking a
Yeah, nothing bad ever happens when you pause.
And your body will know when not to pause, like
Yeah, right.
out of the way of a bus or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, if there's a car coming at you, you're not going to run.
But in general, human conversations and stuff, pause is fine.
Language-based things, right.
Right.
Pause is fine. It's not a problem. So cool. Wow. So, so Robin, you've done what we recommend, and what some people don't do is they get a hold of the matrix and the pro-social matrix, and then they forget to put it into their ongoing systems.
Mhm.
How do we remind ourselves of it? And it's very simple, and it's easy to do, and it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
In the end, it gives people, and I always feel weird saying that because I sort of try and give it to everybody I can, but we give it away. I mean, the process, we give it away. So we want everybody using it, and to return back to it and do those pauses, and let people be who they are right then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, folks, Robin so nicely backdoored into the name of this podcast, The Art of Being.
Yes, she did.
That was very cool, and that's that. And she said it. That was it. It's just, you can just be. Whatever you are right then, that's cool.
Without judgment.
Without judgment, no judgment. It's just,
It is what it is.
That's where you are. There you are. That's neat, and that's the essence of this work. And once people catch on to that, they love it. The kid, adults, children, all of them. It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's sort of fun to look at your emotions and stuff in that context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most rewarding piece, though, is also seeing the kids put it into practice. We've had some pretty significant behavioral challenges, and it's so interesting to me that without the matrix, it might be the first time someone's ever asked a kid who matters to you.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like
Doesn't that blow your mind? Yeah.
when you start with that's like you're building that connection, and then you have this personalized loop around the matrix. And what I've even texted pictures, and sent them to Phil, and emailed a couple of them. I mean, some of them are 4th, 5th, 6th grade. Yeah. You're talking like these developing minds. It's a life skill. If we can get them to take that pause, loop around, decisions be at the base of who matters to them, Are you kidding me? We're going to be, we're at the forefront of social media learning.
Oh yeah,
Giving
very
them
much so,
skill.
Robin. Very much so. You're at the forefront. Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen adults, when I've asked adults that question,
Yeah.
really be taken aback as well and go,
Yeah.
wow, I don't know if anybody ever asked me that question.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, they know who's important to them. It's just nobody ever asked them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of interesting to be asked that question.
Yeah.
And the kids, right? Because it is, you're showing, that's, well, it's important to you. Whoever's important to them is important to you.
Yeah.
Right. And now,
And the other thing about it for the kids is they get to be right.
Yeah, exactly. There's no wrong answer.
There's no way to do it wrong.
There's nothing you can say that's going to shock me, upset me.
No.
Do you? Be you.
Yeah.
and folks on the podcast, maybe you're listening to this for the first time and you're going, what are they talking about? Well, we're talking about really some pretty wild behaviors.
Yeah.
Anything short of hurting yourself or somebody else.
Yeah.
That you'd have to draw the line on, but most people don't bring those up. And it is whatever they say, oh, so you felt like doing that away move. What'd you do? Oh, I went and drank a 6-pack. Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Where would you put that? I mean, it's like, it's just, that's just what they did. That's just what they did. They're just noting it. And was that a toward move or an away move? Oh, it was definitely an away move. Oh, there you go. Now you know that.
Exactly.
It's you're not going to diss on them for what they did. It's part of life, and now you start looking at it. But in the future, they might pause.
Right. Exactly.
They might pause and go, well, I might choose another behavior to do with the situation. That's what you're looking for, is that pause.
It compartmentalizes your actions so that the next time you can sit up on the balcony and you have that visual lens of the matrix.
Yep.
Yeah.
In your mind, because you've already written it, you can see it.
You've seen it. You've done the loop. Yep.
Choice, perhaps. That's all. You're just compartmentalizing and figuring out what would be a good move or a not so great move.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
And the scenarios vary, the triggers vary, of course. So,
Oh my gosh! But individualized, of course. You always ask them what hooks you. Of course, we do hooks.
Yeah.
I'm sure they come up in your conversation. So,
Oh yeah.
what hooks you? What gets you going? We all have our hooks, and so we can notice our hooks and what we do next. And kids, they love them.
Oh yeah.
Well, then we get into Bill Carlisle and stuff. He's got these little monkeys.
Oh yeah.
Barrel of monkeys would literally have hooks for arms, and they hook them together and stuff, showing kids hooks and stuff. But then once again, now you can notice getting hooked, and you can notice what you do next, and you might in the future pause and say, oh wow, but there might be something else I might do. That's my usual thing. That really hasn't been very effective for moving me where I want to go in life.
Right.
And then it comes back to that full circle.
Right.
Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your life? And and it's always considered in those terms. So, oh man, so this is wonderful. And so this is in your school.
Yep. The district.
In the district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got several.
Yeah, I have an early childhood center, but so 7 of the 8 schools, I have school social workers and the behaviorists that have worked with different teams of teachers, whether it's a push-in and modeling it and doing a class climate type, maybe there's like a class-wide issue or individual student matters. I've utilized it with staff just to kind of, just get back to the basics. And what I say is we don't have to have everything figured out. We're just going to figure out this moment, this scenario.
That's it. That's the
moment in
beauty.
time. And we're just going to stop and take a pause on how you're feeling.
Right. And we had this conversation earlier, right? It's not about figuring something out.
No, it's just
we are so not trying to figure anything out.
not diagnosing. We're just noticing.
No. What do you do?
We want people to notice where they are now.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Yep.
No more, no less.
Yep.
And it just turns out that there's a lot of cool stuff that happens when you set it up so people can notice themselves now, and not put that burden on them that they have to figure something out, because life's too hard. It's hard to figure stuff out.
Right.
Let's take a break off of that. Just play around with the diagram, and people enjoy doing it. Children enjoy doing it. So that's so cool. Wow. So so other people listening, take a hint from Robin. Put it into your meetings. Put it into your agenda. That is a loop or two around the matrix, and so you can check in with people and see where they are, see how they're doing, what's showing up in them. Gosh, I don't know where you're in. Philadelphia, is that where you are?
New Jersey.
Oh, it's even better. Okay, New Jersey. So wow, even New Jersey was in the news recently, right?
We're always in the news.
In Jersey City.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Jersey City.
Horrible situation, yeah.
Right, very horrible. So obviously that got into people's psyche.
Yeah.
And so you could, say,
the psyches of your little ones.
Right. So, given our shared purpose and where we want to go and what's showing up inside of you, and is that kind of news showing up inside of you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of let's just ignore it and get on about our business.
Right.
And it's also, you're not doing the opposite of we're not going to dwell on it. We're not going to make overkill it, but let's recognize it. Let's see where it is. And,
I think what's awesome about it is we're not turning it into a therapy session. It's an acknowledgement of feelings. And we know with anything in life, and listen, I've been an administrator now, I'm going into my 8th year. I served on a child study team. I worked in mental health as a supervisor prior. I've just had so many roles where when people don't feel heard, acknowledged, noticed, impact their work. So you're noticing the work that staff's doing and just where they're at. That to me, is more powerful at times than the work directly with the kids. On the front lines.
Absolutely. You said some magic words, Robin.
It was like you were on the other call with us earlier today.
Right. You were on the other call, but you said magic words.
Yeah.
That thing of being heard.
Heard.
Yeah.
Feeling heard.
Yeah. That's like human nature. That's the core of a relationship. If somebody's mindfully present,
you're a human being.
With them, you know it.
Yep.
They're not listening. They're not listening with intent.
No.
They're listening not to, just to kind of bypass to the next thing, not to really
move on. Yeah.
They're listening to hear, not to really absorb.
I guess you would say all of us humans are exquisitely aware when we're not being heard.
Yes.
So don't fake it, folks.
And it's dismissive if you do.
It's very dismissive, and if you say, well, gee, how in the world can I make sure I hear people or that they feel heard? Hey, whip out the matrix and do that one. There's a good chance that they'll end up feeling heard.
Yep,
absolutely.
That's it. They'll. There's a really good chance they will, and then you don't have to fake anything or do anything. Just do that, and it works out. And everybody feels heard, and from that position of everybody feeling heard, you know what, good stuff usually comes about.
Go on and do some other things.
I mean, and it's not that good stuff has to come about, we're not saying that, but it's a good spot if everybody feels heard. We can know the opposite. It's a really bad spot if nobody feels heard. Things aren't going well in an organization where folks don't feel heard. Which is, by the way, there's a few libraries full of research that shows us that. But it's just how do you reverse it? Well, what we're saying is an easy way to do it is just do the matrix. Run through it. Yeah. People probably feel heard.
Yeah. But even when you're doing district vision work, you're talking about a mission, a vision, a strategic plan. On the matrix, let's just, get back to what keeps us away from doing direct service stuff for kids, whether it's budget constraints or whatever it is. Let's just,
budget shows up a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. The old external.
I'm in the middle of building my budget, so it's a little.
That's a hooky word there.
Yeah,
budget.
But they do. Those things show up.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's better just to pop it up, put it up on the board, put it up on the board. Where would it go? If we were running it, we would say, Robin, where does that go on the matrix?
Right. Because I want to run away, but
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you want to do an away move, so that where's that? I'm just playing with her, but that's how you do it, folks.
No, I
That
know.
would be it. If Robin was sitting in an audience and she said, "Oh my God, the budget! We got to think about the budget," and I go, "Oh wow,
Right.
well, where would you put the budget up here on the matrix?" And Robin would stare at it, and she would then might say, "Well, it sure triggers up away moves in me."
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well then where is it probably? Where, at least where's your feelings about the budget? Where do they go? And so that's scary and angry and
You
not
got to
enough.
find the stress that automatically declines in a room people just acknowledge.
Yeah.
Gee, that's really what it's about. It's like just notice, acknowledge, everyone feels heard.
Yeah.
And it's like a commonality in that room again. Like we may not be in the same place with our feelings, but we're just acknowledging that everybody has their own individual, loop. Everyone's going through a different, phase.
Got it.
Yeah.
All just a bunch of humans in the room.
Exactly.
Wow, what a concept. A diagram of humans being humans.
Yeah.
Humans being humans. Yep.
We've called the matrix that before. That's all it is. It's the way to diagram a human being a human.
Yeah.
No more, no less.
That's actually a good way to True. It is true. And allowing us to do so.
Yeah.
Well, then that takes all the agenda off of it, right?
Right.
Just diagramming a human being a human. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
No agenda to it other than that. And it's sort of interesting and fun and curious and stuff. It's all got a lot of stuff built into it. Well, this has been wonderful, man. Well, I'll have to come down to New Jersey and see you work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be keeping in touch with us. She's been
Okay.
Be in touch for sure. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Wow. That is so neat. Neat to see where the matrix gets running around in the world.
Right.
Our earlier podcast this last week, we were coming from Sydney, Australia,
Yes.
with the
Wow.
fires and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then where were we next?
California.
Then we went to California. That's right. And now we're in New Jersey.
Yep.
We get around. This is fun.
Where's Waldo? Where's the Matrix now, right?
It gets.
You're right.
In case people want to know, I've heard from all countries except for North Korea,
Wow.
and I have no idea whether it's.
They're not talking to anybody.
They're not talking to me. So I don't know. But every place else, best I can tell by looking at world maps, I've heard from all others. So that's pretty cool. It's gotten
Awesome.
around. Hey, internet, that's a cool thing, Tends even on slow internet connections, it finally gets in there. So that's cool. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you think, oh gee, I have some stuff that I would like to tell them about, well, get a hold of us and we'll put you on the podcast. And you'll notice, like Robin has discovered, we're like this all the time. We're not out to. We're just out to talk.
Yep.
Have everybody be heard. That's our biggie. we're really big on that.
I feel psychologically safe.
Oh yeah. Hey, there you go. That would be it.
There you go.
In all seriousness, Robin, and Phil and I talk about this. We know that some people will sort of think about coming on the podcast and then they get afraid.
Right.
And the fear is basically that they won't be safe. That
Something bad's going to happen.
Right.
toward would happen to them, and we really try to put those fears aside. We don't. And Robin can attest to this. We talked to her for a few minutes before we started the recording. I'm not going to spring any weird questions on her. Or nothing, It's going to talk about her thing. And so if you do get a chance, other people out there in the audience come back. And Robin, you come back.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to. And I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Oh, this is great.
What's going
And,
on?
you know, we'll, as soon as the recording's ready, it should be in, what is today? Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Before the end of the week.
Yeah.
I'll have it ready to go, and you'll get a link to it, and everybody will get a link to it, and they can listen to how they can transform their schools, their
Yes.
districts, all kinds of stuff into places where people are heard.
Yes.
Sure.
And I commend you for doing that. That's way cool.
Robin's done some really cool stuff. Yeah.
Way cool.
Thank you. Well, thank you for bringing this magic alive for us. I mean, honestly, it's pretty profound when you see, like I said, our youngest little kiddos,
Yeah.
8, 9 years old, running the loop.
Yeah. Running the loop. Yeah.
Listen,
Isn't
And
it?
they go back to their prior, you know, we'll have them bust out their matrix and they'll go
Uh-huh.
back to prior drawings of,
Yep. Yep.
and they reflect.
See it changing over time. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
that's cool.
We're proud of it. I think the most powerful thing for me, I was a newer administrator in this district, and I really felt like it helped me forge relationships and just get to this place of transparency and safety.
Yeah. That's great.
And we got to stick together because, you know,
Yeah.
Phil knows it's tough work in school.
It's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
Kevin,
tough
you
work.
I've read your bio. I mean, you guys have really been in some difficult spots, and to give this gift across the nation, let alone other countries, is pretty amazing. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, now don't go anywhere. I'm
Yeah,
going to
no.
stop the recording, but don't go anywhere, Robin.
She has to also name the. She has
Oh,
to.
no. First of all, you're right. Thank you, Phil. You have to name this.
So, Robin,
What's the
at
name?
the end of the podcast, we have our.
Here is my
podcast.
sticky note.
You're going to give the name to this particular podcast, and then that's how we put it out.
So,
So if you, I don't like, give this particular podcast a name, what would you, or how would you describe it?
I would say how to build relationships. Well, actually, moving staff into a place of psychological safety, running the matrix.
All right.
Something, you know, just so that people know, like, you can do this in districts. I do it in my personal life, but just,
Right.
you know, getting to the place we talk about psychological safety. I use that word because it's such a powerful word. If
Oh,
people
it is very powerful. Yeah.
share, and we can't help kids.
Yeah. Right.
So they have to feel safe to help kids.
Okay.
perfect.
That's great.
I got it.
Thank you. We
Pretty
got it.
wordy, but
Well,
It's okay.
yeah, we'll get it.
I got room. I got room.
Yeah. We can do all of that stuff, Robin, because we're flexible.
you're flexible. I love it.
Okay, now that's done. Now, hold on. I'm just going to stop the recording. Everybody, hey, go visit theactmatrixacademy.com and sign up for certification.
Yeah.
And now I'll stop this recording.